Welcome to Ellen Ruth Soap. I'm Ellen, and today we are going to be making a version of my oatmeal lotion. The last time I made it and shared the recipe, it was a very dense, creamy cream pot version that you could pipe into your containers, really thick and beautiful. Well, today we're going to make the same concept, only we're going to make it pumpable for a pump bottle that's a little bit thinner, maybe a little quicker to absorb in the skin, but all the goodness. We're going to make the oat water and do the colloidal oats just like we did in the thick cream pot version, and I will share the full recipe for this pumpable version down below. And so I got to get everything cleaned and sanitized and ready to go, and let's come back and make some really skin soothing oatmeal lotion. All right, we are back and sanitized and ready to go. So the first thing that we want to do is make our oat water concentrate. That's going to be the bulk of this lotion recipe to keep it nice and fluid. This has a pretty high water content, but we need to make our oat water first. So I'm going to tear out my scale here, and what I need in the end is 312 grams or around 11 ounces of oat water. So I'm going to go more than that right now because I know as I bring this up to a boil, a lot of it's going to evaporate off. So, and if it gets down below my amount, we can just add some more distilled water to bring it up to the volume we need. Once you have the oat concentrate made, you can add water to it. So I've got my distilled water here, and I am going to add, let's just go about 400 grams of water, and then we can bulk it up later if we need to. There we go. I have 401 grams of water here. So what I'm going to do is get this on my little hot plate here and get it up to a nice rolling boil, and then I'm going to add my oats. This is about 30 grams of oats. It doesn't have to be measured. Just add in a nice couple of big tablespoons of oats into your boiling water and let it simmer for several minutes till the water kind of gets opaque colored and you know you've got your oat water going. And I'll bring you along as I do that. But this is just about 30 grams of oats if you want a ballpark estimate. But you don't need to measure the oats. Just get a nice little amount in there, enough to make a good oat concentrate. So let's wait for this to get to a boil before we get moving on. All right, I hope you can pick up on here. It's just starting to come up to a simmery boil. It'll be a rolling boil very soon. And so I'm going to go ahead and pop my oats in there and let it come up to a boil with the oats in there and just extract all the goodness out of these oats. That's all we're doing, is just letting the oats release all of their goodness. They have vitamins. They have wonderful skin soothing benefits. If you are not allergic to oats, I actually have a girlfriend that is highly allergic to oatmeal. Such a bummer, but if you have no oat allergies, this lotion is just delightful. So I'm going to let this just continue to simmer. Let me see. Let's say for 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we'll pop it off of here and strain it out and get our wonderful oat concentrate. Right, so here is a word to the wise. This is rather close to the top, and as I'm sitting here letting it boil, it can kind of rise up in here. So either use a taller container or keep an eye on it. So what I do when it starts to sort of lift up and get too close to the edge, let me see if it'll do it for me. We've got a nice boil going on here. And if it starts foaming up, I just lift it off and it settles down right away. But use a bigger pitcher than I am if you don't want to fuss with all that. All right, this has simmered along for enough that I'm happy. It's been about 4 minutes since I put the oats in there. So what I'm going to do now is put my little saucepan up here, which is going to be our double boiler that I'm going to use to melt our e-wax and oil phase. And we will put the water back on here to keep it warm. But I'm going to turn this back up, push this off to the side, and let this come up to a nice simmer while we strain our oat water. So let me pull that out of the way. So pretty low tech. All we need to do is strain the actual oats out of the water to get our nice oat concentrate. This is a clean flour sack towel. I suggest using a natural cloth, either a linen or cotton, to do your straining, or a cheesecloth if you have that. I don't have cheesecloth, but I have these cotton flour sack towels, so that's what I'm using. And you just strain it on in. Be careful, this is very, very hot. Easy peasy, and just let that strain through and you've got your wonderful, fabulous oat water. All right, now what we need to do is get this back on, and let's see how much water we have left and if we need to add to it or not. Tear out my scale and let's see what we've got. And again, this is after about 3 or 4 minutes of boiling. So we had 400 grams and now we have 272 grams in here. Oh, yep, 272. So you can see how quickly that evaporates. But this is all of our oat concentrate. So adding some distilled water in there is not going to take away from the concentrate that we already have going. So all good. Now what I'm going to do in my hot water here while it's still nice and piping hot is add a little colloidal oatmeal. We're going to go double oats on this one because I did the double oats on my cream pot version and I absolutely loved how it turned out. So let me tear this out and tell you what I'm adding in here. All right, so for the colloidal oats, this is a 1/2 tablespoon scoop, which is an odd measurement. It's a teaspoon and a half. I'm not going to add the whole thing in here. In fact, I'm only going to add about half. So I will tell you in grams here if it even measures. Pretty light. 2 grams. 2 grams of colloidal oatmeal is what we just popped in there. Let me stir that in, and I'm going to go ahead and pop my stick blender in here and really, really blend it through. And then it dissolves in the hot water beautifully. All right, it is fully dispersed and blended in there, looking perfect. So let's top this off now. All right, so now I'm going to add 40 grams of water on here to bring it up to the 312 grams or around 11 ounces of fluid that I need. So I'm just a little bit short. We'll go ahead and add that in here. There we go. All right, 43. We're just a touch over and it's all good. All right, now before we move on and get our water back on the simmering plate to keep it nice and warm, I'm going to add 40 grams or 1.4 ounces of vegetable glycerin, and this is from Soaper's Choice. It makes the lotion really emollient and it locks in the moisture in your skin. If you don't have glycerin, you can omit this and just increase your water by 40 grams, but I think it really adds something special to the lotion. So I'm going to go ahead and add 40 grams of this in. But again, if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. You'll still get a fabulous lotion. All right, so here is our water phase, and going to set that off to the side now, and let's get to our oil phase. So let's just tear this out, and now to this little container, what we need for our heated oil phase is 12 grams or 0.42 ounces of emulsifying wax. And this is just a plain vegetable-based emulsifying wax that I got from Soaper's Choice, not a fancy one or anything, just a plain good old all-purpose emulsifying wax. Okay, and for our liquid oil portion today, I'm going to be using avocado oil, and I got this from Soaper's Choice. When I'm buying from them, if I have a bunch of bulk oils I need, they really do have a good price when you're buying in big bulk, because you pay for freight shipping, which is a lot, but you know, so it's one of those things. If I have a big order, they're great. So I need 43 grams of liquid oils. Now you could do a blend if you wanted to blend this and do olive oil and avocado oil or almond oil. You can really mix it up, mix and match, whatever you like, as long as it's a liquid. This is going to help make it a fluid lotion also. I'm not adding any hard butters or oils in here today. So I'm going to go ahead and add the whole 43 grams of my avocado oil, which is 1.5 ounces. All right, so this is it for my heated oil phase. Now let's pull our hot plate back over and get our things up on there. And we've got a nice simmer going on, so I'm going to get my water back in here to keep it warm. I'm going to pop my heated oil phase in here until all of the emulsifying wax is completely melted. And then we will come back when it is all melted and ready to go, and we will get these two blended together. All right, horror of horrors. I thought I had pushed the record button and I have the gloves on and I didn't. So the last 5 minutes didn't get recorded. Let me tell you what I did. Oh my word. I don't like it when that happens. So sorry. What I did in here was I added the warm water with the melted oil phase. And this is what we got. This beautiful creamy white, very fluid liquid. And to this I added, so this is the cool down phase. I'll show you the temperature again here. I took it before when I didn't have the camera going. It's all the way down to 122. The preservative that I'm using today is Optifen. I got this from Brambleberry, and if you use a different preservative like Germall Plus or Germaben or any of the other, there's so many out there. Just make sure you're checking your usage rate and the temperature that you can add it at. Optifen needs to be added under 176 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're definitely under there. It was 140 when I added it, actually. So for the Optifen, I need 3 milliliters of Optifen in here for this size batch. So that's what I added. And then I also, just because I love it, I added some vitamin E oil. I think it's fantastic on your skin. And it's an antioxidant. It is not a preservative. You can't use this instead of a preservative. If you don't have vitamin E or you don't like it, you can totally leave this out. It won't change any of the other measurements. So this is just something extra that I love. So I added 3 milliliters of vitamin E oil. It's an optional ingredient. I love it. So that's what's in here. And now I'm going to stick blend a little bit to get this really well and emulsified. And I will probably throw this in my refrigerator to help speed things along. Okay, let me tell you about the bottle I'm using today. This is a natural plastic bottle. Natural is the color. They have clear, they have different, like amber, they have different colors. Well, this is called a natural, and it's 12 ounces. And this is the lid that I ordered for it. It's a pump lid, and these pumps come with long straws. Because they fit several different size bottles, and so you have to cut it to the size that you need. So I hold it up there, kind of eyeball, and then cut it. And one of the important things is I like to cut my straw at an angle, and that keeps it from sealing on the bottom of the jar here and clogging it up. So if you cut your straw at an angle, it really helps your lotion flow through better. So there, this is all prepped and ready to go off to the side. But I don't want to pour in there until this is at a nice cooled down thin trace, which means we know it's going to stay emulsified. It's not going to separate. And the last thing that I need to add now that I'm at a good temperature is my fragrant oil. All right, and the fragrance, I'm going to duplicate what I did for my cream pot oatmeal recipe, which is these oatmeal milk and honey from Wholesale Supplies Plus. It's Crafter's Choice brand. And it smells so delightful. Well, I did a 2% fragrance on my cream pots and it was very strong. So today I'm doing a 1%. So I'm going to add 4 milliliters of this fragrance in here before it gets too thick, so it blends in really well. Actually, I might just do 3 milliliters because you know what? I don't need to over fragrance this, but you could add up to 4 if you wanted. Again, when you're choosing a fragrant oil or an essential oil, look at the usage rate percentage for what you're making for body contact. Make sure it's within the guidelines for skin safe usage. So it's in there. Let me get this stick blended and then I'm going to pop this in the fridge till it's cooled off. And then we will come back for jarring it up and putting the label on. Also, just for your information, FYI, when I put it in the fridge, I keep the stick blender down in there so I don't have to re-burp it when it starts to get thick. That's hard to do. So I just keep that submerged and pop it in the fridge just like this. All right, this has been in the fridge for a while. It's still warm to the touch on the outside, but I'm going to give it one final buzz with my stick blender. We'll take the temperature and I will probably go ahead and jar it up. But first, let me give it one last mix here. So what I'm checking for is I'm just blending it to make sure that it's staying emulsified. When I pulled it out of the fridge, there was no oil settled on top. It is staying just completely milky, fully emulsified. All right, let's take the temperature and see what we're at. Right now, it's about the consistency of heavy cream. So we're at 101. So obviously that's a little higher than my room temperature. Oh my word, I can't imagine if my studio is that warm. My studio is around, it's below 70 degrees Fahrenheit for me. But here's the trick to having a narrow mouth bottle. Funnels are fantastic, but you want to pour while it's still fluid, whether you're using a funnel or not, to make sure it gets all the way down in here. All right, I almost forgot to do a pH strip test. Since I have these, I figured we'd go ahead and use them. So, and this is again not super precise. If you want a really extremely precision pH test strip, I suggest getting one of those calibrated meters that you submerge in here. But for me, these are fine. So here it is. Let's dip it in, and then I'm going to wipe it off. Give it just a second, and then we'll hold it up here. Sorry, it's like jiggling around. There we go. So here we go. I'm saying it is close to a 5. That's where I'm going to call it, a 5. And for body lotion, a pH between 4.5 and 7 is the range where you want to be. So a 5 is great. I think this is perfect. I don't need to adjust it. And so we're going to let it ride at 5. So there we go. A very simple, but you know, I think a nice pH strip test. And I will leave a link for these down below. I got these on Amazon. So let's get moving on. And while it's nice and fluid, I'm going to go ahead and pour this in here and hopefully not make a mess. Again, if you're doing several bottles or you're not steady of your hand, which I'm not always, funnels are great. You can definitely use a funnel. So this is a 12-ounce bottle, and this was a 14-ounce recipe. So I should have a little extra left, which I do. Let me tell you something else. I am not pouring it all the way to the top. You probably can't see with the glare here. I pour it just past the shoulder because I want to wait for this to cool down completely before I lid it. But when you add the straw down, that's volume in the jar and it will raise your lotion up. So if you filled this up all the way to the neck, it would overflow. So I only fill it to the shoulder of a jar, and that gives room for the straw to go down in there. All right, so while the jar is off to the side finishing cooling, because that's a very dense, container, the little bit that I have left here is definitely cooled down, and I wanted to show you it is very liquidy. It's going to go through a pump without any problem at all. So let me give you a product demo. It feels very milky. It's absolutely buttery smooth. That colloidal oatmeal didn't give it any grit at all. It's super buttery and very lightweight. Oh my goodness, this would be a wonderful summertime lotion, or if you don't have particularly dry skin but you just love to have a lotion on, this is fantastic. It absorbs immediately in the skin. It's absolutely absorbed. There's no residue, no tacky feeling. Very lightweight. I think this is fabulous for a light lotion, and I'm actually going to be giving this to my grandchildren because they get little chapped hands. Kids, they get into stuff, they wash their hands a lot, their hands get chapped, but they don't want like a greasy, heavy moisturizer. This is perfect for after bath time, just to kind of slather them up and get them all moisturized. So this pump bottle that I'm going to be labeling here in a minute is going to go to my grandbabies, or a couple of them at least. I have 6 grandbabies right now, so only a couple are going to get it. But anyway, let me tell you about the fragrance. That fragrance oil from Wholesale Supplies Plus is phenomenal. It soaps really well, and it was very strong at 2% in my cream pot. The 1% I think is perfect. So for that particular fragrance oil, I'm much preferring 1% fragrance in here to the 2%. So just so you know, if you happen to use the same fragrance I am, and each fragrance is different. Some are lighter than others, some are heavier than others. So you may even want to go 0.5% if you have a really potent fragrance oil or an essential oil and you're doing it for different applications. There's some variables there, so do your homework. Anyway, this feels fantastic. As soon as that bottle is cooled, we're going to come back with the labels. All right, we're back. This is fully cooled to room temperature. It's time to get this lidded up and get the label on. So let me go ahead and pop the lid in there, and Oh man, I wish the camera would pick it up. So once I sunk this down, it went from the elbow up to here. So when you have a pump bottle, make sure you leave room. So it's actually perfect the way that I left it emptied out. I'm going to get this all screwed down. When you order from Wholesale Supplies Plus, their pump lids come in the locked down position, and then you can, you just twist it and unlock it, but it's locked down. I'm not going to open it up. I'm going to keep it in the lockdown position here so the straw stays empty until I give this to my daughter and grandkids to use. But first, let me get to the labels here, and then we will get it put on my jar. So here is the finished label that I have for this jar. And so the requirements for Lotion Labels, let's talk about that for a minute. It needs to state what this is. What is this? This is an oatmeal lotion. It states it very clearly on here. And you can put extra things like I wrote with avocado oil. And then I wrote the fragrance on here. But you need to state what the product is. You need to have the product's weight and the ingredients. Those are requirements for lotions. And you want to put your ingredients in descending order. So from the greatest volume to the least volume, that's how you list it on here. And I also have like my website and other pertinent information. But that is a lotion label here. I designed this on Maestro label. Let me show you here. This is the label I'm using today. These are the same labels I used in the 8-ounce cream pot jar. These labels are fantastic. I use these on so many different jars and products. I just think they're a great standard size for a wraparound label. It's a 1.5 inch by 5 inch long, and I get the craft. You can choose any color you like. I like craft paper. So that's the size of the label. Here's the number that I ordered. These are from onlinelabels.com. I am not sponsored by them. I just order from them. And when you order from them, you get a 1-year subscription to their Maestro Designer. So that's the label I'm using. Here they are. And I just want to mention this font in the middle is purchased. I bought that on Etsy. Maestro Label Designer has tons of great fonts to choose from. All the other fonts are from Maestro, but that one I particularly, I liked it, and so I bought that. So anyway, fonts, you can purchase fonts if you didn't know that. And if you do buy one, you can upload it really easy to Maestro and add it into your label design. You can upload your logo or things like that. So it's very user-friendly, and I am not tech I am tech challenged, and if I can do it, you can too. So there's the labels. Let me show you my pro tip. If you didn't watch my last lotion video, it's spatulas, and it keeps round bottles from rolling around on you. So that's all they're for. I like to keep it steady so that I have chased bottles around my table before with my label. So there's my very fancy pro tip. All right, here's the label. We will get it on the jar. And there it is. Wonderful, oaty goodness, fluid enough to go in a pump bottle, but this is a super basic recipe. It's not complicated, has readily available ingredients, and I hope you give it a try. If you do, try the recipe, like it, dislike it. Yeah, I hope you like it. Leave me a comment below and tell me how you liked it and how it worked out for you and what fragrances you used. I'd love to hear your details. It always inspires me when other people try my recipes and tell me kind of the tweaks that they did and how they enjoyed it. I love that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's video and have a wonderful day.